Hey, and welcome to my desktop. No, welcome to the Chef Twitch stream and YouTube stream today. Today I'll be talking with Kaya about InSpec, and I've just noticed that I haven't changed Kaya's name on Restream. So
oh wow, I didn't even.
It happens again. It just like it's trolling us every time we do
right,
it. It trolls
every
us.
single
It's like,
time.
hey Kaya, hey Dan, you gonna switch names today? And
Right.
just
I just. Oh wow.
it's relentless. It's relentless. So we're talking about InSpec today. So if you don't know anything about InSpec, this is probably the place to go, the place to come and ask us about anything InSpec related. Disclaimer: I've used InSpec for a really long time for things like AWS resources and Chef Cookbook. So if you know, I've been using I've been developing cookbooks for sous chefs for probably 4 or 5 years now. So I have a very specific use case, or 2 use cases. So I may or may not know the answers. So I definitely don't know yet about InSpec waivers, and they sound really cool because we've just added waivers to the InSpec client, the Chef client. So in the next few weeks, I will be upskilling myself on that and then giving a stream on that, which is pretty cool. But today is not about that. Today is all about just 101. What is InSpec? What can we do with it? And I'll go through a sort of test profile that I've written for one of my Raspberry Pi cookbooks, which we'll see a bit of the cookbook and then we'll go through that. But before we jump into that, going to go and do the usual pre-flight checks, which are, if you're not following us on Twitter, we're at Chef on Twitter. There's a bunch of really cool stuff. Are we doing still doing our giveaway? Still doing our giveaway, I think. Yeah, I think we're doing our 10 years of Chef Conf.
Oh, that's right. They are.
Sweet.
That's true.
Let me just check.
Yes, go definitely follow us on Twitter for that, because it's going to be some nice
I like it
and stuff.
So we've got, and then so tweeting out about all of our sessions that we're recording at the moment. Finished recording Kaya's on Tuesday, which was cool. That's Tuesday? Wednesday?
Yeah,
I have no idea what day of the week it is.
And it's over and I'm happy.
Yeah, it went really sweet. So it was sweet. So it was nice to see. And if you're not joining us on Chef Conf this year, I will ask why not. It's free.
Yeah, it sounds like a bad idea to not join us for Chef
Conf. It's cool. It's cool. So this year there's an InSpec track, as you will expect. There's our info track, and there's a DevOps track as well, which is pretty sweet. And there's some really nice stuff there. There's some CI/CD things in there as well. Me and Kaya are both speaking on massively different things that we do normally. And if you've got any questions about about ChefConf 2021, can't get my words out today at all. ChefConf 2021, or you've just got a general question about Chef, InSpec, or Habitat, join us on the community Slack. We will either know the answers or know someone who does, and we'll get the answers there. Or if you just want to pop on
know someone who does.
Oh man, yeah, it's all good. So there's always somebody who knows somebody how to do it. It's a bunch of really intelligent, really smart people that help. So yeah, if you're not on there, just join us on there. It's really, really cool. I'm going to pause for a second and take a breath, because I think I've been speaking at 1,000,000 miles an hour already, and I'm going to try and get my mic a little bit closer.
Gotta adjust. It's all good.
It's just adjust. It's all good. It's all good. Hopefully we'll watch the people live streaming in. So we've got 2 people on YouTube.
Hello, everybody.
Hey,
well,
go.
I'm for one excited to learn more about InSpec today, because I haven't really done much with InSpec at all. So
you haven't touched it at all, have you, yet?
I haven't.
That's cool.
Other than doing, like I said, I'm practicing a demo for Habitat and InSpec.
Nice.
Very, very high level. So, yeah, I'm excited to dig deeper.
This should be good. I think it's really really, really flexible tool, and there's some plugins that make it even more flexible. One thing I'm going to dig into, like for personal reasons, because I scratching like Kubernetes itch occasionally. Of InSpec can talk directly to the Kubernetes API and interrogate the Kubernetes objects, which is really, really nice.
Wow.
That's it's some really cool stuff there, and I just want to see that in action, and so I'm gonna be doing a stream of that probably in September at some point. We haven't decided. Me and Kai were talking about this yesterday, or the day before, when we were trying to figure out what our September stream schedule looks like.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I really want to go and get some. I want to try and get the Kubernetes angle in there at some point, because like InSpec works really, really nicely with basically anything you can think of, Azure, AWS, that kind of stuff. So it's like my go-to tool. It's my crutch, basically. If I can't think of any other way of testing it, I'll just be like, can we just break out InSpec? And that'll work, right? And the answer is usually yes, which is nice. But let me just see if I can bring up my editor. And we'll start from my cookbook. Where do we should do? We'll do a picture-in-picture so we can see.
Oh, I just
see our faces even bigger.
One second.
We'll go for it,
before you start. Everybody watching, if you have questions, feel free to just put them in the chat, and we'll get to them as Dan has some ton of pause.
Yeah, I will. In fact, if you put questions in the chat, I will actually stop talking for 30 seconds, and that'll be really great for everybody involved. So if you've not seen this cookbook before, it's my Raspberry Pi cookbook. This is the kitchen YAML for it, so I can just do a kitchen test on it and test all of the stuff on it, but it's just a normal cookbook. And I've got a default recipe that does an apt update. And then we include 2 recipes. One is the system recipe and the optimization recipe. I can probably jam these 2 together, to be honest. And then I do a chef client system timer. And all this does is schedule the chef client to run on an interval. I can't remember whatever the default time on this one is. I can't remember, but it works. And I've got chef just running in the background and making sure that everything continues running, which is super, super nice. So I used chef run to get the cookbook on the node, and I just let it run and continue running, which is pretty sweet. I could have used another way of provisioning the node, but because it's my sort of home production system, like it's very much homegrown, I'm just breaking some rules, which is absolutely fine by me.
Yep, it sure is.
I mean, you got to break some rules occasionally.
Rules are meant to be broken.
Yeah, right. So this is kind of like this is the thing we'll be testing today. Is not the package, but we get rid of the telnet package, and there's a couple of kernel modules that we just don't need. I'm running Kubernetes, so I haven't got a video. I haven't got all of these things. I don't need GPU schedulers like enabled or the DRM stuff enabled, because we're not doing anything with that, those kinds of things. So we just don't enable those modules, and it just gives lets the kernel run in this RAM, which is always nice. The Pis are like they've got 8 gigabytes of RAM, which is quite nice, but like the more RAM I can give those, the more I can consume with Kubernetes, of course, which is fine, because Kubernetes will just take all the RAM it can find. So I'm allowing it to have all these. And then the other thing is the system ones. We have a package, so I use NFS on there, so we install the NFS common package. We have a reboot block that does nothing, and then we request a reboot on the reboot block if we change the GPU memory. So if GPU memory equals 16 is not there, then we change it, reboot the box, and then we, that's how that works. So those 2 kind of tie together. Our boot file is command line.txt, so we do, and then we make sure. Actually, we didn't make sure. We just dump this content in to the boot file, and the important one is C group enable memory and C group. So C group memory enabled enable memory as well. So these 2 basically just enable us to have memory limits on enabled. They're not enabled by default on the Raspberry Pi because most people don't just run Kubernetes like Docker stuff on Raspberry Pis by default. So it makes sense they're not there by default, but we bung them on, which is fine, and nothing else. There's nothing else weird on there basically. So we just do that. I'm going to take a quick breather and just bring up the InSpec. Hey, QRBD, QBRD. I get it wrong every time.
Right?
Every time I do QR for some reason. But hey, good morning to you, QB.
Yes.
It's been a couple of weeks. It's super early your time, so thanks for joining us again. So yeah, we've got InSpec YAML here. This is the start of where we start our profile. If I open up our file navigation again, so we've got test integration default, and we're in the default folder right now. So this is a default profile, as you just called it. This is I've labeled up my default profile. All this means is I've just called it default, so it doesn't need to be. It's not like the default one ran. It's just I didn't name it anything because I was being lazy, and why not? But so we've got names and titles and licenses here. We've got no copyright because I haven't filled it out yet. It's by the by. So none of this really does a huge amount, except for this line here, which is the secret source I want to show today, which is how we get InSpec inputs. Because I have an array, or I have a big list of kernel modules that I want to test, what I want to do is again, make another array and loop through those. But to do that, we need an input. And the best way of getting an input, well, my preferred way, there's a few ways of doing it. My preferred way is declaring the input in the sort of the main metadata file, as it were. So if you're coming from Chef Cookbook land, your metadata.rb is sort of the thing that describes the cookbook. InSpec.yaml is the thing that does it for each profile. So here you can have inputs, and if you've got extra sort of like add-on packs, like the AWS pack, you can add that here to sort of add dependencies, as it helps you to do dependency management, which is pretty sweet. A couple of weeks ago, we described how to use the AWS pack with InSpec, and that's how you do that. Here today, we're doing inputs, which is pretty sweet. And I've got enable kernel modules. Note that these were in the other, they should have been disabled, but for some reason, the kernel won't disable them, and I will, I'll go over that later on. But long and the short of it is, I'm in the middle of installing Automate to add some logging to this, which is pretty sweet. And these are the ones that have actually successfully disabled. So my demo won't fail today, which is fine. So we have inputs here, and then we've got a modules YAML, which we say, hey, go. We've got an array with a key here of this. These are our inputs, and that's how it works. So we have an inputs of name, disabled kernel modules. We have a name, but it says it can come from YAML or it can come from a number of other places, one of which is the Chef server, which is pretty sweet. So if you're pulling down a node attribute or an attribute from the Chef server or an environment file somewhere, you can do the same thing here. And they can have the same source. So you have the same data source for both disabled kernel modules here and disabled kernel modules for your cookbook, which means that you have a single source of truth, which isn't the cookbook, which isn't your InSpec profile, but they can both say, hey, give me a list of the modules that should be disabled, or I should disable based on InSpec or Chef. And then we just require that in the array there, which is pretty sweet. And then what else have we got? So that's our modules. And then pretty simple, we've got our default test here, which is just where we've got our tests. In fact, this is actually a really nicely simple test today, which is port 80 shouldn't be listening. I've never opened it, don't listen. This is actually one of the default tests. And then we've got an input, which is called disabled kernel modules, and that input comes from, it was declared in the InSpec YAML, and then we populated it with the InSpec, we've declared it in the InSpec YAML, and then we've populated it using modules.yaml, which is another file here. You can call this file anything you like. It just needs to be a YAML file, really, for what we're doing today. And then for each one of those in the array, we just loop through them, and for each item in the array, do mod. So it basically just assigns each of these items in the array to mod, and then we say describe kernel module mod. So let's just bring up YAML. So mod, the first time round is BCM 28835_V4L2. Wonderful kernel module name. I know exactly what it is now. Thanks very much. And then VC4 and then S&D. So it changes every time you go around the loop. And then we say it should not be enabled, or it should be disabled, and it should not be loaded. Because when we did our cookbook, if I go to optimization, we uninstall, unload, and disable. Basically, I was like, just get rid of it for me. Like, make sure it's not enabled. I don't want to see that stuff ever again. And then obviously we do a normal failure here because the video ones don't disable for some reason. I don't know why, but it doesn't matter. And let's just do a quick demo of. You can see me running through a demo earlier on, actually, when we were talking to Kaya. So what I'm going to do here, I'll break this command down. I'm using chef exec. So the chef command is just a chef CLI command. It's shipped with chef workstation, and it's a great way of saying I want to load the kitchen, test kitchen from chef in the exact chef bundle. I want to load InSpec from the chef bundle, and it'll work with Habitat too. So if you've got multiple versions of InSpec on your machine, multiple versions of test kitchen, and you want to use the one that's bundled with workstation, chef exec is the way to do it. And then you've just got your normal stuff on the right hand side here. So we're doing InSpec exec dot, so whatever's in the current directory, and then our target. We're going over SSH as Ubuntu to this node IP here, and we're going to use this input file. If we don't declare our input file, I will show you what happens. Basically, it should give us a big fat error.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So there we go.
Yep.
So failed to load profile default, failed to load source for controls, input. There you go. We'll eventually get to the input error. So input disable kernel modules is required and does not have a value. Because we made it required, we errored out, which is pretty sweet. I could run this again. I won't run this again. But if I scroll to the top, we'll have a Nokogiri error, because there's always a Nokogiri error with everything ever. And then we have a profile, which is Chef Pie defaults the default profile. And then we've got our version number. So what we could do here is we could have a single profile that requires other profiles, which is really nice if you've got a second team that's running AWS-based profiles, and you want to say, I don't want to have to run or write all of their controls again. You can just say, like, they've packaged up their controls for me. Just go and grab it for me, and then I'll include it. And then we can do that, which is pretty sweet. And then and then they can version it, which is really nice. I think we do that with the Apache Cookbook as sous chefs. We run the baseline spec, the security baseline against Apache, which is really nice. And then we have our own tests. So we have third-party tests and our own tests, which is fine. And you'll see here, so port 80, and then all these kernel modules are disabled, which is pretty nice. That's pretty much it. I don't think there's anything else I want to mention today, which is, can I show it? Can I show it? Oh, it doesn't. It just it just doesn't. It doesn't come through. It doesn't come through the Twitch.
Yeah, the emojis don't come through. But
oh man, if we could get the emojis come through,
emoji
beautiful.
king. Mm-hmm.
QB is definitely the emoji king today. There we go. Do we have any questions in the audience about for anything at all? I'm going to just throw the chat up on the right hand side to see it stream past. I'm going to close that cookbook out for a second. But I think that's pretty much it. I mean, is there anything that I didn't go over that has sparked your interest or?
You're very thorough. Like, so this is so new to me that I'm not sure what questions I have yet.
Yeah.
But you were very thorough. I definitely want to like take some time and go through it on my own and kind of see like, but I think, it was a really good intro for sure. Thank you.
Let me just get rid of our overlay. Can I get rid of the overlay, please? Can you please get rid of the overlay? There we go. Let's give it a second.
Oh, QBRD has a couple of questions.
So this is something I'm in the middle of researching actually. So how do you do InSpec inputs from a cookbook? So InSpec has now got the Chef info client has now got an audit phase. Audit phase is driven by InSpec under the hood, which is pretty sweet. How do you pass values between those two? I will find out the answer to that and do a stream purely on that, because the audit phase of the cookbook is something that we've introduced with Chef 17. I think it's 17.0. Yeah, I'm gonna draw it out, man. I'll draw it out. But I don't know the answer to that because I basically just restarted digging into InSpec, which is a bit of a shame. And the audit phase is a reasonably new thing that I haven't yet been able to get to grips with. But so audit phase is on my list of things to answer. So I will let you know if we're doing audit phase and waivers. So that's also part of the audit phase and how you do that. I can't even tell you what waivers exactly are right now because I don't really know. I was looking at inputs right now, so I would expect that'll probably come off node attributes of some sort, so you can share data between the two there. That will probably fix this problem that I've got right now, which is I've got a list of modules in the cookbook, and I've then had to basically duplicate the exact same list for the InSpec results. In the background, I'm in the middle of setting up an automate cluster locally, so I can push my results to automate. And when you install automate, you can also install Chef server, which is pretty sweet. So that'll hopefully all tie in, and I'll be able to run the audit phase. In fact, I'll maybe do a demo of running the audit phase on the cluster probably quite soon, actually. So now I've got it kind of split out, and like, how does this look when it's all together? Which is actually a great question, and I'm so sad that I can't answer your question there because it's really frustrating. Because actually, the actual the answer is pretty sweet.
QV definitely has the great questions.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I think that idea was kind of in the back of my head. I was like, oh, I'll do it next week. But it turns out I'm definitely going to need to do it sooner, which is it's definitely the hook for next time. It's definitely there's kind of like, I think it really demonstrates the fact that Kaya and myself are definitely on journeys of our own as well, of like trying to like understand parts of Chef we've not used it before, and hopefully we can bring the audience with us as well. So I find it much easier to explain the new things quite easily if they're new to me.
Right. Yeah, because then you don't assume any knowledge. Like, people who have a lot of experience with something assume a certain level of knowledge when they're talking to on an audience.
Yeah. Ooh, what's that happen there? Why is the... That's interesting. The YouTube stream is just gone for some reason.
Uh-oh.
Oh, dear. Stop streaming. Maybe it started streaming. There we go. Don't know. I had a bit of a wobble there for some reason. But yeah, I think it demonstrates the... I got completely sidetracked there for a second. It really demonstrates that Probably, probably copyright. So I've just renamed the stream, so it probably had a bit of a paddy that I renamed the stream halfway through the stream because it was
Oh.
still recipes to resources. I was looking at the top and I was like, it's not what
Oh,
I'm doing
I didn't
today.
even look at that. Oops.
No. So it's probably having a paddy at me going, Dan, you're not doing that. So it's probably stopped and started it, but it's fine. I'm hoping it's not a copyright strike. I mean, like, not going to be my background. My background. It's definitely not our background music, which is the most subtle background music ever. It's almost creepy sometimes.
I like it. It's very fun.
But yeah, the whole thing is quite. I think I'm really enjoying sort of getting to like forcing myself to like getting to know bits of Chef that I've never needed to use, which is pretty sweet.
Right.
Like so, Chef Automate is a great way. We're replacing Chef Manage with Chef Automate. So I then need to go and have a look at that, which is fine. But I've not needed to do that, and I've been using Chef for too long. No, too long. It's been a while. But it's like, well, as with any user of the system, like you use the bits that you use, and you get to know the bits that you get to know. And you know there are other things that you would need to know, and you're like, yeah, well, I don't need to know that, so I'll just skip this bit. And Automate was one of those bits. And yeah, I think we'll have a thing about waivers and the audit phase probably scheduled for within the next 3 weeks. I think depends on how long it takes me to get a nice demo together, which is probably not going to be too long, to be fair. But if I can actually integrate those two together, that'd be really, really nice, because then we can ship InSpec controls or audit controls with the cookbook, which is really nice, and that's exactly what we were going to do. But yeah.
Nice.
Take a big swig. Brilliant. I think we're going to leave it there. But hopefully everyone found that really interesting. Any questions, any feedback, any like, Dan, could you please go and tell me about waivers today rather than get me on the hook? Then yeah, we'd love to hear it. But until next time, catch you later.
Bye.